Hello, thank you very much for joining this channel again. Afishiapa to you all. Today, I come your way with another exclusive. Coach Chris Hilton is preparing to announce his final squad for the African Cup of Nations 2023 to be staged in Ivory Coast from the 13th of January. That's tomorrow. And there is this news about Fatawu Issahaku, the informed Leicester City winger. The youngster is one player that has shown to fame in the championship and then has been named in Ghana's squad for the African Cup of Nations. He's one player that a lot of people bang their hopes on to make his name in Ivory Coast. But I have news concerning Fatawu Issahaku's inclusion in the squad. He's in the 55-man squad. But the story is that Fatawu Issahaku may not be in Ivory Coast. And he has already, his management or his camp, I understand, has already communicated to Coach Chris Hilton that Fatawu Issahaku may not or will not be able to join his teammates for the AFCON in La Côte d'Ivoire. A youngster who has a lot of prospects, has already been at the World Cup, has been at the African Cup of Nations, even before reaching the age of 18. He's so much in him, a lot of talent, and it's undoubted. His talent is unquestionable. So once people see him in the squad, even when he played in the Ghana Premier League, he was always featuring in the Black Stars and the African Under-20 Championship that was staged in Egypt and Mauritania. He was a player who shone very much for the Black Satellites. So Fatawu Issahaku has always been part and parcel of Ghana's national team from under 17, and he was expected to make a very big impact in Ivory Coast. But then the news is that Fatawu will not be there as it stands, or likely not be there. Let me choose the words very carefully. He will likely not be in the final squad. The reasons are that one, Fatawu Issahaku moved from Sporting Lisbon to join Leicester City on loan, and he was priced at 4 million euro by making that move from Sporting Lisbon. He signed for Sporting Lisbon and played a couple of games for their youth side, but unfortunately couldn't make any competitive league game for Sporting Lisbon. The manager, we understand, had said Fatawu Issahaku, despite having the talents and prospects, he was not at that level in coach to play for the senior team because there were so many competitors for him to get a place in the Sporting Lisbon first team. So he had not played a single league game for them before making that loan move to Leicester City. Fortunately for Fatawu Issahaku, that loan move has come in time for him to make his mark. He's played 21 times for Leicester City now, and in those 21 games, he's done a yeoman's job, to be said. He scored twice and assisted 7. That's 9 goal contributions in 21 games for a youngster, and he is one of the key players for Leicester City in their quest to return to the Premiership now. So Leicester City are eager to retain Fatawu Issahaku. That's what I understand. So first, he has a loan move.
Requires that he plays a certain number of games. So in the contract between Sporting Lisbon and Leicester City, there is a clause inserted that requires that Fatawu Issahaku plays a certain number of games. And this number of games from Fatawu Issahaku's camp, if he is to make the AFCON in Ivory Coast with Ghana, that will mean that Fatawu will miss an estimated number of matches. That's between 9 to 10. And that means he cannot meet that threshold of matches required for him to get a stay being permanent at Leicester City. So basically, the player is in a bit of controversy. He's in a bit of a complicated situation. If he makes the AFCON with Ghana, he will miss a number of games that will require that, or that will mean he cannot meet the requirement of playing or being mandated to play a certain number of games at Leicester. Now the player is informed. Leicester City have made it clear that their intentions are very positive. They want to retain the services of the player. But in the contract, before his services can be retained on permanent basis, the player needs to play a certain number of games. If he comes to the AFCON with Ghana, this number of games cannot be met. So the players' camp have requested kindly with the technical team of Ghana, led by Chris Hilton, and made this formal request that they will gladly want Fatawu Issahaku to stay at Leicester City for the period of the AFCON, so that he can, as a matter of fact, getting his feet in the league, grow. He will still have a lot of opportunities with the national team. He's still young. Secondly, they think that he's not a key player in the scheme of affairs in this Ghana national team. So if he misses the AFCON, as against missing matches for Leicester City, it will go against the player's own interest as a youngster, because this is the time that he's trying to find his feet at Leicester City. And this is a player who went to Europe and has struggled to get competitive football. So now that he's been impressing for Leicester City, who have shown interest in retaining his services, why not allow him to continue his growth process at Leicester rather than curtailing the impressive form by inviting him for the AFCON, which is going to result in him losing so many games and then failing to get the number of games required for him to be retained. One. And two, this will largely depend on Coach Chris Hilton's consideration. Because of the FIFA regulations, all the clubs who have players required to be at the AFCON camp have to release them on New Year's Eve, and that's on the 31st night. So by 1st of January, all the players are supposed to report to camp. So if Fatawu Issahaku's requests will materialize, that will be largely dependent on the consideration that Coach Chris Hilton gives to this request. He cannot decide to pull out of the squad if he's not injured, and even with injury, that will be determined by the medical staff of the Black Stars. So let's see what Coach Chris Hilton does. But as it stands, if the coach allows the player to have the request go through, then it means that Coach Chris Hilton has allowed Fatawu Issahaku to be excluded from the AFCON squad, which will mean he will stay with Leicester City. If the coach decides that the player is very crucial to his team building process towards the AFCON and therefore will not allow him to stay or will not allow the request to pass, then Fatawu Issahaku will have to, by all means, join the Ghanaian team for the AFCON preparation in Kumasi. So this is the situation with Fatawu Issahaku. Now, the players' camp have made their request to the coach. It is up to Coach Chris Hilton and the management team of the Black Stars to decide whether to allow the request to pass or have a bigger picture of looking into the consideration of the player, his interest, his age, and what he will offer when he is with the Black Stars in camp. If he's such a key player that they cannot do away with, then they will not allow this request to pass. But if they think that a player is young, they feel that he's been impressive for Leicester City, and then coming to the AFCON will curtail that development that we all like, then that will mean that they will allow the request to pass. So this is the news that I'm getting. I don't know what you feel, but Fatawu Issahaku's request to the Ghana national team, and of course the head coach of the Black Stars will have to consider this before his squad announcement tomorrow. This is basically what we are picking up. Whatever you think also will be very crucial, the fans, but I'm not sure there are fans who will think that Fatawu Issahaku is such a huge player for the Black Stars that we may rely on him in very difficult periods. I'm not trying to downplay what he's achieved for the national team and himself, but at this point, as a youngster, I am sure that so many people will like that Fatawu Issahaku continue to grow at Leicester City rather than coming to the AFCON. But there is also a part of me that feels that Fatawu Issahaku is a player who can add so much to the Black Stars anytime he's with the national team, and as such cannot be allowed to stay with the club. So let's see what the coach does. But as it stands, if the request is granted, Fatawu Issahaku will miss the African Cup of Nations in La Côte d'Ivoire. Thank you.